Welcome to the part 2 of this step-by-step tutorial where we will see how to create materials, how to light and how to render our scene. If you want to know how to do this character, I recommend you check the first part where I explain everything step by step, and you can follow the tutorial along with the drawing reference and a cheat sheet of all of the shortcuts. What I like to do to have a better look of what my character will look like at the end is to already set up some lights. So I open the add menu with Shift A, and in the light section I select area. I bring it up with G to put it on top of my character, and I size it up a bit with S. Then on the side view with 300 numpad I select the light, then I pressed Shift D. We're gonna duplicate this very light and rotate it with R. Then on the top view with 7 on the numpad, I rotate it again to move it with G to place it on the left side of the character. And the line you see here is where the light is going to go. Then we can duplicate this light and place it on the other side. On the left panel, we can choose to show the render mode. Now we are ready to add some color to our character. First I select the eyes, then in the materials section I click on New. I change the name of the material to the object, so here it's the eyes. Then in the base color we're gonna choose a black color. Then we're gonna do the same exact thing for the back of the eyes, but this time we're going to choose a white color. And we're going to add a material to every piece of our character. For the sweater, I'm adding a first material, that will be the sweater, and I'm also adding another color by clicking on the small plus on the right. We're gonna call this one legs. For the details of the overall, I'm gonna add a material. I'm adding it to the button part, then selecting the details above, and in the material I'm gonna click here to look for the material we have just created. Same thing for the color of the sweater. We're gonna look for the material of the sweater we did earlier. Let's add materials for the shoes now, and also for the shoe tongue and the shoelaces, and of course the socks. Let's add another material for the hand, and also for the eyebrows and the little piece of hair on the ears. Now that we have created a material for every piece of our character, we're gonna prepare the overall in order to be able to draw on it. So for this, we're gonna click on the overall, and in the modifier tab we're gonna apply the mirror modifier. Now we can go into edit mode, and we're gonna select some edges. For this, I'm double clicking on this edge to select the entire loop, and while pressing shift to not lose the selection we have just made, I'm gonna select also the one on the bottom and the one on the left side. Once we have selected this loop, we can press U and click on Mark Seams. Then still on edit mode, we're going to press A to select the entire mesh, and then we're going to press again U, but this time we click on Unwrap. Now I'm gonna apply all of the mirror modifier of the shoes. By applying the mirror modifier, we are avoiding any weird look when we're gonna add some texture to our character. Once the modifier are applied, we can press U and click on Unwrap. Let's add some color now. Let's get back to the head. I'm choosing to go with a color that is a little bit more dark. And once I find a color that I like, I'm gonna copy the code of the color in the hex section. Then I'm gonna paste this same code in the materials of the hand and the legs. In order to see the colors of the legs, we need to go into edit mode, then select the part of the mesh that we want to be the leg. Then in the materials, we're gonna click on assign. Then for the sweater, I'm going for a light purple, but you can choose whatever you want and make it to your liking. I then choose to make the overall blue and the detail silver. But as I said, you can really get creative and choose the color you like. For example, you could go and put some watercolor just like so. Let's continue to put some colors. Here to the shoes, I'm gonna choose a light brown. And I forgot to film it, but I also add a light beige color for the socks. I'm adding a dark gray color for the eyebrows and the little piece of hair. Again, here I'm gonna copy the quote color of the eyebrows and paste it onto the hair material. And now it's time to set up the face texture so we can draw on it. So to be able to draw on our character head, we're gonna click on our head, and in the bottom part right here, we're going to change the section and choose shader editor. Now, the same way we want to add a new mesh in our 3D viewport, we're gonna press Shift A to show the add menu, and we're gonna type directly what we are looking for, which is the image node. So just write down image and choose image texture. In this new node we just added, we're gonna click on new, and here we are creating the image on which we are going to paint the head texture. So I'm naming it head texture, and for the size I'm going to double the amount so we have a good quality texture. Then on the color we're gonna drop the alpha to 0. This way all of the texture we're gonna draw is gonna be added on top of the current color we put earlier. Now you can press OK. Then to add a little bit more dimension to the texture, we're gonna add a color ramp. So Shift A, then right color ramp, and put it on top of the image texture. We also want to link the color ramp to the principal BSDF. Then Shift A, we're gonna add an ambient occlusion and link it to the color ramp. When linked together, the color ramp and the ambient occlusion are going to create more dimension where the shadows are hitting the character. And you can also choose the color of the shadows. But in order not to lose the color of our character, we're going to go back to the base color and unlink the nodes, then click on the white square of the color ramp, and now click on this rectangle and pick the pipette. Then choose the color from the principal BSDF. Then for the left side, for the black, I'm simply choosing a light dark so the shadows aren't too harsh. Let's now add another node, so Shift A, and look for mix colors. Here what we're gonna do is that we're going to link the color of the color ramp to the mix A and the color of the image to the B. And also the alpha going to be linked to the factor. And now you can link the mix color node to the BSDF one. Everything is set up now, so we can go onto the texture paint section. And if like me it seems like your face has disappeared, it's okay, we just have to go and change the viewport shading mode. Now what we need to do is to click on our character face. And I don't know why I lost this part, but I did also apply the mirror modifier on the face and also add seams on the side of the face. And unwrap it the same way we did with the overall. So now we have the front and the back of the face. What I like to do here is to go on this panel right here, and we're going to create a palette. This way we can save the color we want for our character and have access to them simpler. So the first color I want to add is the base skin color of our character. For this I'm going to go back quickly to the shader editor and pick the color, copy the coat color, and now let's go back into the texture paint tab and we can paste the color right here. This way, when we will click on the little plus on the right, it will automatically add the selected color. Before starting to texture the face, I'm gonna choose a darker color for the eyebrows and the piece of the hair. This way we can choose a light gray to start painting. And now we can paint directly on our character's face. Make sure you have the mirror turned on, so when you paint on one side, it also paints on the other side automatically. If you have a tablet, it will definitely be simpler, but you can also use your mouse. And you can size up or down the size of your brush by pressing F. Once you've made the basic shape around the eyes, you can erase some parts. So click here on this panel and then choose Erased Alpha. This way you can erase and clean the drawing. Here I'm gonna go back and forth between the mix brush and the Erase Alpha one, just to get the shape that I want. For the top of the face, I'm choosing a lighter color and I'm just gonna paint all around the face. And for the top of the ears, I go back with the darker color just to get a light gradient. And I'm also turning down a bit the strength of the color. I go back and forth between painting on the mesh and on the UV because painting on the UV will avoid any mistakes because of the seams. To mix the two colors together, let's select this little drop below the brush. Before moving on, don't forget to save the image, because if you don't save it right here, you will lose the painting you have just made. Then I take back the gray color and add it to the inside of the ears and to the side of the face. Let's select the little nose and mouth, and for them I choose the same color than for the eyebrows. To make it in a simple way, I'm going to select both of the mesh, then lastly selecting the eyebrows while still holding shift. Then with Ctrl L, you're going to have the link panel and you can choose link materials. Now that we have made the painting for the face, we can go and make the texture for the clothes. For the clothes, to make something that looks like fabric, we're gonna add a few nodes. First, let's add a texture coordinate. Then look for value and put it aside the texture coordinate. Then we're gonna add a wave texture and we're gonna change a few things. Let's select Y instead of X, and for the scale, let's set up to 3. Distortion to 3 or so, and details to 15. Now I'm gonna click on this node and press Shift D to duplicate it and place it under. We're gonna keep the same exact setting, except we change the Y for the X. Let's start to link them. We're gonna link the UV of the texture coordinate to both vector of the wave texture, then link the value to both of the scale. Let's now add 2 color ramp, one for each wave texture, that we will link to the colors. To duplicate the color ramp, I simply select it and press Shift D. Then I'm gonna select the 2 little black squares and move them to the right. Now we can link each wave texture to its color ramp. Now we can add a mix color, and we're gonna link the first color ramp to the A and the second color ramp to B. Here I select both of the color ramp and I duplicate them with Shift D. On the second color ramp, I'm going to put a light gray color instead of the black color. And for the one on the top, I'm simply moving it to the left. In the white square of the top color ramp, I'm gonna put the color of the sweater we chose earlier, so the light purple one. Then we're gonna link the mix color to both of the color ramps, and link the first color ramp to the base color of the principal BSDF, and the second one to the roughness. We can now go back to the value, and the more value you will add, the more big or small the texture will be. Here I choose to put 400 as the value. And if sometimes you have weird looks on your materials, like we have for the color for example, it might be because we forgot to unwrap it. Apply the mirror modifier and press U and choose unwrap, and that should fix the problem. To make the sweater a little bit less dark, I choose to replace this dark color for a light purple. And for the rest of the clothes, we're gonna use the same texture and just replace the color when needed. So let's select all of the nodes, right click and choose copy. Then click on the overall, for example, and press Ctrl V on the shader editor. And use the pipette to pick the blue color we chose earlier. And now we can press X to delete the old BSDF and material output. And choosing another shade of blue instead of this purple one. And depending on the size of the mesh, you may have to change a bit the values. We're gonna do the same exact thing for the socks, but instead we're gonna go for a light beige color. So it's really the same process than earlier. We simply copy all of the nodes that make our texture and we paste it onto the material of our choice. So here it was the socks, and just changing the color. Then for the shoes, I simply choose to turn down a bit the roughness. I also choose a white color for the shoelace. I'm gonna select each lace with Shift, then lastly select the one who already has the texture, and we're gonna link them with Ctrl L, link material. Here I quickly add a plane below my character. So Shift A and choose plane, and moving down with G and Z, and S to size it up so it feels like he's standing on something. I like to render my character in orthographic view, so even when I'm in the 3D viewport, I like to press 5 on my numpad to have the orthographic view. Then the last details we're gonna add to our character is the texture of our character. Let's go back into the shader editor for the overall, and we're gonna paint on top of it the same way we did with the face. So for this, we're gonna add an image texture first with a mix color. Then we're gonna link the mix color to the color ramp and the BSDF, and the image texture, we're gonna link it to the B of the mix color. On the image texture, let's create a new image that I'm gonna name overall, and Blender has kept the setting from the last image we have created, so it's perfect, we don't have to change anything else. So now we can go in the texture paint tab and start painting on the overall. To draw on it, I choose a darker blue color. And to make things easier, I'm gonna rotate and move this part of the overall since it's different. So I go into edit mode, then on this panel I press L to select all of the front, then R to rotate it and move it with G. Now we can start painting. You can size up or down the size of your brush by pressing F, then scrolling up or down. And again, don't forget to turn on the mirror so it's painting on the other side at the same time. I paint some lines that gonna look like seams. And here I'm just gonna draw some seams and some cute details. You can follow exactly what I'm doing or drawing your own ideas onto it. For the pockets, I needed to be more precise, to have cleared and straight line. To do it, we click on stroke, then we check the stabilized stroke. And same thing as we did for the head, when you need it, you can choose the erase alpha brush and erase the part you want. I'm going to take my time to draw one pocket on the side that is going to be painting automatically on the other side. And once I've made it, I'm also going to draw a pocket on the front of the overall with some cute drawing on top. But as I said, you can really draw whatever you want, and if you don't have any ideas, you can either follow what I'm doing or you can check for reference on Pinterest, for example. And don't forget to save your image in the texture paint tab, otherwise you will lose everything you have just drawn. I also changed a bit the material of the eyes and choose to turn down the roughness, so there are some light reflection on the eyes, which make the character more alive. Before doing the final steps, I wanted to make a little podium for my character to rest on. So I simply pressed Shift A and added a cylinder. I sized it down on the Z axis with S and Z, and I also sized down the entire shape with S. Then I drag it down with G and Z to put it under my character. I also need to put the background plane under, so I move it with G and Z also. Now, before adding the bevel modifier in order to have smooth edges, we need to apply the scale of the mesh. Otherwise, when you will add the bevel modifier, it won't work really well. So Ctrl A to show the apply menu and choose scale. And now we can add the bevel modifier. I've set the amount to something like 0.03 and segments to 5. And for extra smoothness, I added a subdivision modifier. Then, like we did for the closes earlier, I select both of the background and the podium and link the material so the podium have the same color than the background. And now you can choose whatever color you like. Now for the lights, I wanted to keep it really simple because we are here to focus on the character. So this isn't the perfect way to do lightnings, but it works just fine for our character. In the beginning of this video, we added 3 lights. You can either keep those 3 lights, which will work just fine, but we can change a few things. Here, I'm just gonna keep the one on the top of the character. Then I click on it and I press Shift D to duplicate it and place it just a little bit more on the front of the character. As you can see, since our eyes have some reflection, we can see our light inside of it. So what I like to do is first change the shape of the light from the square to the circle, and you can already see that it's looking better. For the power of the lights, both lights are around 60. And if you want to add a little bit more dimension, you can add 2 lights on the side. For this, I press Shift A and I choose Point. The point light is great when you want to add a bit of color without it being too harsh. For the first one, I choose a light blue color, and then I press Shift D to duplicate it and place it on the other side where I choose a warmer color. Let's now set up the render settings. First, I'm gonna press Shift A to show the add menu and I choose the camera. Then on the 3D viewports of the left, I'm gonna press Ctrl-Alt-0 on my numpad to set up the camera position exactly where I was in the 3D viewport. Then in the camera setting, I choose to use the orthographic view just because I like the way it looks. and I needed to bring down a bit the orthographic scale so my character is fitting perfectly on the camera view. One of the most important things to set up is the samples. I've already mentioned it in this video where I explain everything a bit more, but the max samples you will be able to put will depend on the power of your computer and the complexity of your scene. Here, since we kept the model and the scene pretty simple, we could go with something quite high for the samples, but to make sure everyone will be able to render the scene, I will only put 512. And now you can click on render and render image. Don't forget to click on image to save it onto your computer. And here is the final result. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. As usual, if you have any question or recommendation, feel free to write those in the comment section. Bye!